Get the meeting open for the council meeting on the 7th of March 2023. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library between the library and the art gallery buildings. This is a council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any member of the public with a disability to vacate the building. Item 1.1, apologies for absence.
Mr Mayor, we have Councillor Evans on leave, but no other apologies.
I have a mover. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor McDonald. All in favour? Against? Carried. 1.2 live streaming and recording. The council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting that you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administration purposes. 1.3, acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders both past, present of the Wiradjuri nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. 1.4 is declarations of interest. Does anyone have a declaration of interest for this council meeting? Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and welcome back. We've missed you. I have three. So in the Planning and Development Committee, item 2.2, ex-services Country Club Forest Road, page 9. Item 2.3, Rosedale Gardens, page 59. And item 2.4, 274 Leeds Parade, page 393. As my husband's environmental consultancy firm has undertaken work for the proponents in each of these cases.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in regard to item 2.1 DA 293/2022, the ex-services Country Club, it is a less significant non-pecuniary interest. I'm president of the Orange Ex-Services Soccer Club. I don't hold position on any board or anything like that, but I'm a member of the club. I will be staying in the room and voting on that item. Item 4.2, the Greyhound Precinct. I have a significant conflict of interest there as I'm the Nationals candidate for the upcoming state election in Orange, and I don't believe that it would be appropriate for me to comment on the matter, and I'll be leaving the room.
Thanks, Councillor Miletto. Councillor Kinghorn. Oh, sorry. Booting back for a while, so give me a go.
So I would just like to declare a significant non-pecuniary interest in item 2.2 of the Planning and Development meeting, the DA for the Orange Ex-Services Club, as I'm a family friend with the CEO and they're also a major sponsor of Bloomfield Junior Rugby League, which I am sponsorship coordinator and secretary of. So I will be leaving the room and not voting on that matter.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Item 4.2, the notice of motion relating to the Greyhound Precinct in Orange. I will declare a non-pecuniary interest that is less than significant. I am a state election candidate and I do note that greyhound racing has been a state election issue as well. However, while I have my own personal political views on that, those themselves don't constitute a significant conflict of interest. And the decision that is being put is related to Orange City Council making a decision about whether to proceed with pursuing something that doesn't relate to election priorities or to the election campaign. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Mallard. Any others? There being no others, just before we start, I just wanted to thank the councillors. I've had a bit of time off for some personal and family issues. I just want to publicly thank Councillor Power for filling in for me, and all the other councillors, and the messages I received from some councillors. I just wanted to thank you, and I'm grateful for the time they had off. It's been very significant for me personally, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. The council will now adjourn for the conduct of the open forum. We have speakers. First cab off the rank, Mr. Graham Jennels is speaking on PDC item 2.2, developer application DA 293/2221, Ex-Services Country Club, lot 205, Forest Road. Could you come up to the lectern, please, Mr. Gentles? You've got 5 minutes. I'll just introduce all the councillors first, Mr. Gentles. We've got Councillor Whitten, Councillor Greenhalgh, Councillor McDonald, Deputy Mayor Councillor Power, Councillor Mallard, Councillor Peterson, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Floyd, Councillor Kinghorn and Councillor Miletto.
Look, thank you for the opportunity to be here to begin with. It's one of those situations where I needed to be here to represent our club. Thank you once again to your staff, Mayor. Your council planning committee has done a wonderful job in helping us with some issues that we had, and certainly with some advice in the process and procedures. So just a bit of history to begin with. The application we have is for a synthetic green at the Country Club premises, which is out at the Bloomfield site. The reason for that is some 5 years ago we had an amalgamation with one of our old established bowling clubs in Orange called Newstead. Part of that amalgamation process was we made a commitment to them that we'd encourage bowling and do our utmost to promote that within this district, and particularly for our senior members. Our club in essence primarily was and consisted of senior members. So we did some planning, extensive planning, and of course with that planning we had to make some changes to try and make it a bit more compliant to our neighbours. However, we always take into account the responsibility we have, particularly with neighbours and also in what we do in the community. The bowling green, in essence, is an additional green to a normal green, a natural green that we have. And because the influx of members over the last 2 or 3 years, we haven't had the facility whereby we could expand with the bowling. Our current green, which is a natural green, only holds the opportunity for about 42 odd bowlers. And a consequence of that is we've currently got about 80 members, of which 75% of them are over the age of 75. So some of those activities in relation to bowling cannot be carried out on the bowling green because of the excess numbers, of course. So it created a situation where we did some planning, made some decisions whereby we could then hopefully fulfil the needs of those bowlers that we had gathered through the amalgamation process. With our experts, of course, through planning, with the help of Andrew Crump, with our heritage issues, and certainly with Orange City Council and others, we established the fact that we were going to put some lighting on. The lighting is needed, in essence, for our bowling fraternity, whereby, particularly in the summer months like we're having now, they prefer to bowl later in the day. So to offer that opportunity to bowl, we extended the hours of bowling, hence the opportunity for lighting. Our bowling generally would consist of hours from 1 through till about 5, but with the extra provisions of the heat with our elderly members, we decided that we could extend that if we had a synthetic green and also some lighting for both the synthetic green as well as the natural green. So, in essence, with that planning, we established the fact that we wouldn't need the lights to be on any longer than 9 p.m. of a night time. And of course, that's not every night of the week. It's only infrequent usage. So along with that, we did some planning with our lighting experts who did some patterning with their light. And I'm not an expert in lighting, don't think I am, but I can use their terminologies. They have a lux component. Normally on a bowling green, that lux component of lighting without spillage, just concentrating on the green without affecting our neighbours, in a general sense, is 165. Our planning through advice and changes to our D application, we've reduced that right down to 100. but it still gives us an opportunity to bowl with some lights and certainly without impacting on our neighbours. The other lighting aspect of that was some security lighting in our car parks, and that's a necessity, as in that area it's not very well lit most times, and the lighting would only be activated by sensors and on a time frame. Once again, that would be on a limited basis. The other important thing is we tried to encourage some younger members to our bowling fraternity because it's a dying sport. So we thought that as a group, and with some planning and some involvement from our bowlers, we could introduce possibly a child's play area, like the ones that you see in other licensed premises around the place, or even at McDonald's on a smaller scale, where we could accommodate just a small group without a great deal of hassle in erections and also for the DA.
Mr. Jennings, I'll just have to, as an extension, moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Whitten. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There you go.
So procedurally, sorry about that.
It's all right, mate.
But so in essence, we wanted to develop a small playground for the children so we can encourage some family use of the bowling greens and also encourage some of those younger ones possibly to take up the sport of bowls. We are very sympathetic to Cancer Care West. I think over the years that I've been involved with our club, with the things that have happened, the building of the premises, the opportunity to give them assistance when they were building it, and also the fact that some of our bowlers, believe it or not, were patients that utilised that environment. Some of our patients that were once there under cancer care have come back to bowls. Thankfully, some may not have. But it's a general interest we have in as much as our bowlers, we believe, and if you read the information supplied by Bowls Australia or other groups involved in bowling, you would see that the game of bowls is a physical activity, particularly for seniors, where there is physical activity, there is socialisation, there is other aspects of mental well-being, and of course that physical exercise that they can attain by simply playing the sport of bowls. When you're senior, it's not a matter of being able to go to a gym and whatever as you might respect. So, in essence, in my view, we had a planning process where we thought we would achieve something that would be agreeable by all parties without a great deal of impact on anybody else. Of course, as we see it, that's not quite the way it's panning out. But we also had some provisions there under our licensing agreement at the country club. We have provisions there whereby we are, as part of that licensing agreement, bound to the retention of noise and activities whereby we don't interfere with neighbours. So that is part of what we do, and that's a licensing requirement. We're under our CEO and his management team, we contain that very well. And the opportunity for us is simply to promote the game of bowls and enhance that by putting in 2 greens. With the numbers that we've got, we can't use 1 green. Synthetic, of course, there's a reason for that. That is a financial implication whereby we're not using water resources, we're not servicing the greens like you do in a natural sense. So it's a financial change for us where you don't need the greenkeeping staff that you might do for the natural provisions of bowling greens. And further to that, bowlers had been looking forward to, and we've been sort of course delayed, one reason or another, in the opportunity to bring them back. We are lucky in a sense whereby we're funding our bowlers at the moment into Orange City Bowling Club, and of course that helps them financially, but that's got to come to an end sooner or later, and they've got a new vision on what they need to do in this community with their bowling club as well. But in essence, Mr Mayor and councillors, our impact that's been attributed to this exercise, I think, is very limited. From the experts that we've engaged, there doesn't seem to be any problems with both lighting and certainly the noise aspect. We're not building a children's playground that we might generate a huge number of children. So all I can say is, on behalf of Orange Ex-Services Club, thank you for the opportunity. And if anyone has any questions, I'm here to answer any of those questions.
Thanks, Mr. Jennels. I don't think there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Carpenter, Mr. John Carpenter, on the same DA. Thanks,
Good
John.
evening, Mr Mayor, councillors. I'm Chairman of Cancer Care Western New South Wales. Once we had established that there was going to be a cancer centre at the new hospital in Orange, significant representations made by senior citizens of this town, surgeons and others, and our organisation decided it was necessary to provide accommodation for cancer patients travelling to Orange from geographically about a third of the state. So with fundraising from the Western area, most Western communities contributed in one way or another to build that facility we currently have. Now, it's a facility for patients and their carers who come to Orange for cancer treatment, radio, chemotherapy, other forms of cancer treatment. They are immunocompromised, they are fragile, as are their carers. Some of them go to sleep as early as 6:30, 7 in the day, in night time. Some of them sleep during the day. They get home from their cancer treatment, they feel crap, and they go to bed. They want to be quiet, and we have been able to provide a quiet accommodation for them. The typical comment from some of our clients when they leave is, this is a home away from home. And that is the nature of the lodge that we've been built. We have great neighbours, the Ex-Services Club. They facilitated during our construction access through their greens in order for heavy equipment. Our guests walk through a gate that we have to go to the club and have the occasional meal and a drink and a cup of coffee, and they come back. It's worked very well. We now see that there is a development proposal for expansion of the club. We don't oppose that. We've made some inquiries today, and we're satisfied that the lighting restrictions that have been compromised on will work. What we are concerned about is the potential of increased noise, particularly during summer months, outside the lodge, coming from the new two bowling greens, because of the propensity for people to take alcohol out onto those greens, to drink there, and to stay around once the greens are no longer in use, creating noise up to 9 p.m. That may not seem significant, but if you're feeling crap and you're in your bed and you're trying to get to sleep after cancer treatment and there is noise going on within probably 100 yards of your room, it is pretty significant. So today at a meeting with council, it was suggested that we should consult with our neighbours about them producing, with us, working together, a management plan, so we understand how these activities at night are going to be managed in terms of controlling noise. Is there any other activities going to be happening on the bowling green or in the vicinity, picnic tables where people can sit and drink, or even during the bowling, which could affect the noise that's being created from this new activity. I think that's a great proposal. As I say, we don't oppose the application. We simply want the opportunity of sitting down with the Ex-Services Club and working through their management plan, seeing what their licence conditions are, so that we can be satisfied that with all of this, we can both live in harmony with, next to a busy nighttime bowling activity, and right next door, some seriously significant and affected cancer patients. So all I'm seeking tonight is for the development application to be adjourned, the approval process to be adjourned for a short period. I appreciate there's meetings are monthly, probably for 1 month, enable us to have those meetings with ex-services clubs, come up with a management plan which gives them the legitimate use of their facility, facilitates their bowlers, workable for them, but also gives us some assurance that in all of that, there won't be a significant noise impact on our business. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Carpenter. Our next speaker is Mr. Bruce Holman. Okay, no worries. Our next speaker is Mr. Alan Hilsinger from New South Wales Greyhound Breeders Association, Trainers Association. Speaking on to council on item 4.2, notice of motion, Greyhound Precinct in Orange. Mr. Hilsinger.
Firstly, thank you for inviting us here today. Thank you to Mayor Hamling, to the councillors and to Councillor Whitten for putting the motion forward. Great to see Dave in person, and also I saw Scotty was here as well, who I've met a couple of times. And also a big thank you to the participants who have come out to show. All of these guys are from our Orange and surrounding regions to show their support for what we are actually looking to do in the Central West, which is build what we are referring to as a centre of excellence for greyhound racing. So only 5 minutes, I will get straight into it. I want to share with you guys in particular the impact that having a greyhound centre of excellence will have for Orange and what it's done for other regions. So my name obviously is Alan Hilsinger, CEO of GBOTA. Start quickly with a background on greyhound racing at the moment, which a lot of people don't realise, is that the sport of greyhound racing currently employs approximately 4,177 full-time people through the industry across New South Wales, of which 2,304 of those are regionally employed. The Economic Impact Report, which is about to be released to state government on Friday, and I have permission to share these as preliminary results, so these will be shared to you guys as councillors. I can pass them on once it's released to the state government. Indicate that the value add of New South Wales greyhound racing to the economy is 629 million. That's direct impact. There's 345 million regionally. And in the Central West, we currently have 400 participants, of which we believe there's at minimum a 5 times multiplier, being that you not just have the registered participants, many of which are here today, but family owners, syndicate owners, and the likes of. We've seen a significant shift in the greyhound racing industry over the last 5 years, with dramatic reduction in racing injuries, 40% in fact on the last 5 years, 40% increase in rehoming, and under the ministerial control and the independence of GWIC, it has absolutely been at the forefront of not just GBOTA, not just the participants, Greyhound Racing New South Wales, everyone, that the welfare of greyhounds is the utmost importance. And I would dare say, if you went into any of the people behind me's homes, you would see that they care for their greyhounds beyond belief. And not only do they care for them, they actually love seeing them race. A lot of people have a misconception that it's not the case. These greyhounds, when they race and you watch the excitement and the love that they have for racing and competing, is next level. The actual centre of excellence for what we're looking to build in the Central West, as a organisation that is looking at this as a commercial opportunity, I would dare say that it would be silly if we did not want both Orange and Bathurst to be competing for what I believe is phenomenal economical benefit to a region, and that's why I'm here to speak today. I'm not here to convince you to have it. I'm here to share with you the opportunity that Orange has if you so choose it. So I just want to make that very, very clear, that this isn't about convincing you anything outside of what you guys will see with the numbers. So the Centre of Excellence is intended to be it will be the absolute first in the world as far as safety, technology, and what we are doing. And that is the opportunity for the region. The economics indicate, again, this is coming out in a report, so this isn't just made up numbers that are just grabbed from somewhere on the internet. This is actually going to the New South Wales government. The economical impact for a town or a region in New South Wales that has a greyhound racing track that races once a week, TAB Racing, which the Centre of Excellence would no doubt race at minimum once a week, is in excess of 20 million annually. to the economy. That incorporates small business, medium-sized business. It incorporates the participants. And part of that is also including 20 full-time jobs, as well as dozens and dozens of casual jobs. The construction process would be in excess of $10 million, incorporating 40 full-time jobs. And that 20 million that I refer to annually is post-construction when we're actually up and running. In addition to that, the tourism, the major events, I'll give you guys a quick example. Dubbo recently held a carnival out in Dubbo, which again are things that we are looking to do out here. And they had 1,000 people from outside of the town come just for that event alone to watch that race. And they had 1,000 people inside the town enjoy the food and beverage. On that venue alone was in excess of 100,000. And that's at the venue, let alone what the people spent inside the town as well. Outside of the tourism, obviously.
Zingo, can I have a move? Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Maddow. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Keep going.
Thanks, guys. Greatly appreciate it. Outside of that, obviously, the putting Orange on the map, Greyhound Racing is now not only all across Australia through Sky Channel and a number of other publications, but Greyhound Racing has grown to the level where we are going international and we have a lot of international interest. So Greyhound Racing and having the Centre of Excellence in Orange would no doubt put it on the map. In addition, given the level of technology and advancement in safety that we intend to have at the Greyhound Centre of Excellence, I would dare say that would attract a lot of attention from universities. Greyhound Racing New South Wales is currently working with the University Technology in Sydney and their engineering department and have done so for 8 years. And a lot of research has gone into what we're developing here. In addition to that, I just want to share in regards to the community. We're not, as a Greyhound community, we are a community. And we're not here to come in and say, hey, we're the Greyhounds, we want to take over anything. We're here to engage the community. We want to enhance everything. We understand that the go-karts or the track is right next door to one of the venues that we have highlighted as a very good option here in Orange. And we would love to work with those guys. Our track manager at Bathurst, Jason, has been on the phone in the last couple of weeks with those guys and talking in regards to what that would look like. They had their concerns. They got on the phone to him. We're here to enhance everything. We're here to look at opening up the facilities. A number of our venues have rugby league, AFL, hockey playing inside the facilities themselves. We want to do the same here in Orange. We want to open the inside of the facilities to people. Obviously, top-notch restaurants, bars, everything that we bring with the Centre of Excellence would be open to the community. We'd love the community to come in and see how amazing Greyhound Racing and the beautiful animal, which I saw the Smiths bringing in, just laying there, enjoying himself, being part of this, bring to the economy. Outside of that, guys, I just want to reiterate that we're not here to convince anybody. We know the economical benefits of Greyhound Racing. We're here to embrace and be part of the community. We're here to, you've got a lot of people that behind me that have put their whole lives and their livelihoods on Greyhound Racing. And right now, with the tragic loss of the Bathurst track, we're looking to provide them with the absolute best possible solution. And to us, that means discussing that with Orange and discussing that with Bathurst and finding out whatever that is. And again, I just really appreciate the time. I appreciate Councillor Whitten putting this up as a motion. And I hope, like the Greyhound community do, that you guys see the absolute benefit in Greyhound Racing and the potential of it coming to Orange. So thank you again for your time.
Question. Yeah, thank you. Alan, thank you very much. My question is, if we pass this resolution tonight that Councillor Whitten has put forward, and I thank him for that, but how quick would you envisage, if you decided to come to Orange, could this happen?
How quick can council approve it? No, I've just been checking.
I'm sure the director is listening, but...
yeah, in all seriousness, it would, for us, really, we want to make the decision as quick as possible. Again, we're representing all of these amazing people behind us, and we understand the livelihoods that have been impacted through Bathurst, and we don't want to hold that up. There's guys behind us that are travelling 4 and 5 hours that, be that in Bathurst, be that in Orange, will be driving 45 minutes at the most, and now driving 4 or 5 hours coming home and then looking after their greyhounds, their families. So to us, we want to make this as quick as possible. So as soon as we can get a decision, some more firm commitments around land and opportunities, we'd love to get this literally. If it was up to us, we'd be wanting to dig dirt tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Questions? No other questions. Thanks, Mr. Hilsinger.
Thanks, guys.
Our next speaker is Mr. Chip Howard from the Canobolas Motorcycle Club. Mr. Howard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm here representing the Canobolas Motorcycle Club. The club has no position in relation to greyhound racing. However, given our continuing efforts to lease the old trotting track, we welcome the motion being amended to exclude the old trotting track. Hopefully we can come up with a win-win situation. There were 5 sites listed. We've put in a lot of work since February 2020. Club has navigated its path through COVID restrictions. It was the first week that first week of COVID restrictions when we first met with executives and council. We've navigated our way through caravan park proposals, the Equestrian Club Challenge, the draft local housing strategy, an online petition to council generating some 1,300 signatures. We then promoted by supporting candidates the December 21 council elections to our petitioners where we got support. We actually wrote to our petitioners and advised them we have had one more candidate support the petition since the last update. In the mayoral election, in the order listed on the ballot, you can choose from Jason Hamling, Jeffrey Whitten and Tony Miletto. In the election of councillors, you can add Steve Peterson, Group D, Mel McDonald, Group E, and Glenn Floyd, Group G. So we've then continued on, run a mini Kana Come and Try event, which was very well attended and got a lot of positive support. We've had a presentation to Council Sport and Rec Policy Committee, again, which was well received, and they saw that we were adding value to an existing asset by trying to set up a moto park up there with the kart club. We've gone on and obtained professional quotes for noise and traffic studies. We've obtained a loan approval for the DA through our state controlling body, Motorcycling New South Wales. Now we're navigating our way through the challenge from the greyhounds. We're at the point now where we're ready to put forward a motion, if we can get councillors supporting it, for a position that we reached back in April last year, where we were, it was agreed that we would seek in principle agreement to the granting of a lease for the use of the site, and I note that it would be dependent on approved DA, which wouldn't better the DA process. So that's what we were chasing, and that's where we're at now. Turning to the actual motion and the criteria listed in there, on the economic point, when I first started this discussion 3 years ago, I brought with me an economic study from Goulburn Park Raceway, Wakefield Park Raceway down at Goulburn. They showed a $15 million annual return to Goulburn through the operation of that motorsport park. And there's plenty of other anecdotal evidence that motorsporting activities are on the rise, getting more popular, families are interested in doing it, and there's a significant economic benefit to the city. Turning to the cultural significance, the go-kart club's been up there for 50 years. I was up there on the weekend with candidates for the election that supported our position, and we actually took a drone shot of the traffic up there, the parking up there, and can't really show it here, but it extended from the lease area of the kart club right down past the grandstand area. So there is a significant impact if that piece of land is sold. I've spoken to the president of the kart club this morning. He emailed me back. He is out of town and wasn't able to get here tonight to talk. And he stated, and I quote, "As I mentioned previously, I personally don't have an opinion for or against the greyhounds, but I strongly believe the old harness track would be better suited to motorsport use. As you're aware, Orange Kart Club is very interested in pursuing a dirt track for kart use in conjunction with the motorbike proposal you have been trying to get across." So that's the position of the kart club. And I suppose the other 2 points that I'll quickly make is in terms of the cultural significance. Motorcycle club, our motorcycle club has been around since World War II. We used to be known as the Sports Motorcycle Club. There are 8 additional automotive clubs that have expressed an interest in creating this motor park. They can see uses for various activities in their clubs. at that park. Juvenile Justice approached us back in 2021 with expressing interest in using the park and motorcycle training, motorcycle riding, using it for diversion programs for at-risk kids. The Headspace have also been in touch with us and are looking at opportunities that they look at mental health for adolescents, kids and adolescents. They're interested in looking at opportunities there with us. We've got access to a fleet of demo bikes in Sydney that we can hire out, and we'll be able to make them available on a pilot program for them. Just further on the statistics, there's 4,600.
Mr Howard, an extension by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Finish up real quick.
Sorry.
There are over 4,600 licensed motorcyclists in the LGA. If you go to the neighbouring LGAs, that quadruples. The thing about motorcyclists out here is they don't buy bikes and get licensed to commute. They do it because they see it as a form of recreation, enjoyment. So there's a big contingent of motorcyclists out there that are looking to back us. On the sport promotion side, we don't have the same level of funding from state government that greyhounds do. And in fact, motorsport, by contrast, gets nothing from government. And yet clubs like ours provide services, families, mums and dads and kids, and it's in line, and that's done through the activities of all of the volunteers of those clubs. So hopefully we can come up with a win-win, and hopefully that there's an opportunity to move amendment to exclude the old trotting track from the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Mr Philip Donato of Byng Street, talking on the greyhound track.
Yes, good evening, councillors, and great to see you back in the chair. I'm speaking in support of the motion of Councillor Whitten in relation to supporting of the Greyhound Racing Centre of Excellence track. And I'd like to welcome Mr Alan Hilsinger, the CEO of Jabota, who's made the time to come to Orange to present to council, as well as all the participants who are seated in the gallery behind me and to my right, who have also attended council for this particular matter. Greyhound racing has a long association in Orange. It goes back to the 30s and 40s, and racing it at Wade Park up until the early 2000s, when the track there was then disbanded. But it has a long association going back many, many years. And we've got some of the best trainers and breeders of greyhounds in Australia right here on our doorstep in Orange. We've got, and he's probably too modest and humble, and he doesn't know I'm going to say this, but Marty Hallinan, who's just been inducted into the Greyhound Racing Hall of Fame in the gallery tonight. We've got a local gentleman who's breeds some of the best greyhounds, if not in Australia, probably around the world. We've also got Dave Pringle, whose greyhound Shaky Jakey set the lap record at Wentworth Park in 2014 in its first run, still holds that lap record 10 years later. So we've had 3 of the 8 dogs that raced in the latest $1 million race at Wentworth Park. Nearly half of the field were bred and reared here in Orange in the Central West. Orange in the Central West has a long, proud association with greyhound racing for many, many years. In fact, in 2016, when the government decided to ban greyhound racing, it was a strong show of support by industry participants right across New South Wales, but specifically here in Orange, that saw me get elected on the back of that greyhound racing ban being overturned. And I'm forever grateful to the greyhound racing fraternity for the support they gave me at that election. That support continues. That support continues. This Centre of Excellence that's been proposed by Mr Hilsinger would be world changing for greyhound racing, not only in the Central West but across Australia. It would be the first Centre of Excellence in the world of this height. Nowhere else in the world would there be a Centre of Excellence like this. It would provide a platform where we have not only races but training, forums and functions that can be hosted there as well. It would provide veterinary facilities as well. It would be the pinnacle of what the centre of excellence should be across the world in terms of greyhound racing. We've heard issues in relation to the welfare of greyhounds, and certainly since 2016, that's been an extensive issue as part of the Integrity Commission and the reform process. As Alan said, greyhound racing now, we're seeing less injuries sustained to greyhounds. We're seeing the prize money increased in greyhounds. We've seen betting increasing and the revenue stream going into greyhounds increasing. But more importantly, what is it for the local community? What is the benefit for the local community to have this centre of excellence here in Orange? Well, we've heard the statistics in relation to the financial benefit it would provide to our community here in Orange. Not only jobs during construction, ongoing jobs, direct and indirect jobs, probably numbering in over the 100. You consider all those factors, but more importantly, you're seeing things like the promotion of visitation, tourism, putting Orange on the stage in terms of broadcasting rights across not only Australia but internationally, putting Orange on the map. We've heard the statistics coming out of Dubbo. The economic impact that would have on our community from that's going to Treasury on the weekend is that would introduce nearly $20 million annually into a regional community. That's significant money that goes to support local businesses, local shops, local hotels, service stations, cafes, kiosks, the whole box and dice. And at a time where we've been through COVID, where we're trying to encourage tourism, that's a really important feature. And we want to promote jobs as well, and that will flow on to promoting and encouraging more jobs. There's an old saying, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I think this is a gift horse that's been offered to Orange, the opportunity to host and have a centre of excellence here in our community. It's something which I support. It's something which would be not only terrific for greyhound racing, but terrific for the Central West. And wouldn't it be a great synergy that when greyhound racing was banned in 2016, Orange, the community that got greyhound racing back on its feet, gets to host, gets to hold, gets to keep the centre of excellence here in our community. And for that, I support it. Thank you.
That concludes our public forum. We will now move back into our ordinary meeting, and I'd like to move a motion that we bring item 4.2 forward so we can deal with that straight away.
Second that, Mr Mayor.
Second that by Councillor Whitten. All those in favour? Against? Carried. See that Councillor Mileto has declared an interest. He's left the room.
Going to do the minutes first, or?
No. Okay. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to move the motion as printed.
Have a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I think it's been said by a lot of the speakers tonight, and I thank everyone who's come along here for their support for having the Centre of Excellence in Orange. And I've spoken to some of you this afternoon, and there are people from Goulburn, from Bathurst, from all over the Central West who believe that Orange should be the centre of excellence for their industry. And this is an industry. A lot of these people are my family. They're not my blood family, but they're greyhound people. My parents had greyhounds all my life. And so I regard them as family. And certainly the industry of greyhound racing, as we've heard tonight, the revenue and the numbers speak for themselves. Our job to represent the community as elected representatives is to bring opportunity and revenue and tourism and jobs to this city. This is a great opportunity to do that. And we've heard those numbers tonight. And that was from one TAB meeting. This Centre of Excellence may have several TAB meetings a week, but I'm happy with one to start with. $20 million of revenue and the jobs it will create, and the support of the community, of the family, of the greyhound industry to make Orange their home for the Centre of Excellence. And the history is long. It goes way back. The CEO of Octec has a trophy in his home, and as most people who know, Andrew McDougall collects artefacts that are valuable, that he regards as valuable, and it is a trophy for which was called the B-Post Goblet for a race in Orange in 1915. And the prize money was £100. And £100 in 1915 was a lot of money. And he still has that trophy in his home. So it goes back to 1915, the history of greyhound racing in Orange. This is not bringing a greyhound track and industry to Orange. This is returning the industry to Orange, and from where it once was the premier track. And for some reason in the 2000s, the council decided that it no longer wanted to support Wade Park as a racing premier track, and we lost it. And this is our opportunity as the voice of this community and the representatives of the community to bring this industry back to where it belongs in Orange. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Speakers. Councillor Floyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be voting in favour of Councillor Whitten's motion tonight. It's a common sense motion aimed firstly for the benefit of the Orange community and secondly for the whole of the Central West. Make no mistake, Orange will benefit greatly from such development in both short and longer terms. This type of opportunity, I believe, is why I am sitting here today in the role of a councillor to bring to the people of Orange. Jobs, infrastructure, tourism, local business spend and the development of new businesses is critical to Orange, and we as a council have an opportunity of great potential right here in front of us. As a council, we cannot refute the facts that if this Centre of Excellence does not come to Orange, it will go elsewhere. It won't just vanish. Someone else will reap the rewards. Yes, we will still receive some benefit as part of the Central West, but why should we be followers when we can be leaders? Especially when Orange has the resources to make this venture work. I personally thank our state member, Phil Donato, New South Wales GBOTA CEO, Alan Hilsinger, and the members of the GBOTA and the community for their time and their words tonight. And I look forward to a bright future for the greyhound industry, both regionally, nationally and internationally. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I am speaking against the motion. It's not one that I can support. I fully appreciate the long-standing history of the greyhound racing industry, particularly in Orange. I also appreciate and respect that we have a large number of breeders, owners and trainers here who I am certain care about the animals that they breed, train and race. And who have a long-standing dedication to their sport. I take the points Councillor Whitten has said about opportunities, but this opportunity for me is not consistent with what we want for the future of Orange. Our community strategic plan didn't identify that we want to see more animal racing as one of our key priorities. It identified that we wanted sport and recreation facilities like the ones we're delivering, like the sporting precinct, and that we want to protect domestic animals and deliver education and services relating to animal health and well-being. And I think, our destination management plan as well, in terms of what we have identified as the key opportunities and drivers for tourism and economic development in the region, it's just not consistent with it. But more than that, we've heard arguments about improvements in the industry and the integrity of the industry, and we've heard arguments about the potential economic benefits. There are systemic problems relating to animal welfare and treatment in the industry. The RSPCA policy outlines their concerns with issues like oversupply, injuries, physical overexertion, inadequate housing, lack of socialisation and environmental enrichment, training, illegal live baiting, administration of banned or unregistered substances, export and the fate of unwanted greyhounds, including high wastage and high euthanasia rates. And while there may be stats that show the problems have reduced, problems and animal welfare issues haven't gone away. The Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds monitoring of reports from races shows there have already been 25 deaths, 1,963 on-track injuries in greyhound racing across Australia this year. There were 4 on-track deaths at the Bathurst track in 2022. Those sorts of reports are not the kind of things I want Orange to be identified with, and that's why I'm not in support of this motion. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Mallard. Councillor Greenhalgh.
I'll be speaking in support of the motion tonight. I would, however, like to acknowledge to Chip and his team all the fantastic work that they've been doing out at the old trotting track. And I guess, there can be some win-win situations. I'm not saying that we're no longer supporting that. And we can certainly, as a council, we can look at other avenues where we can potentially look to home the moto facilities as well. But I truly believe that it would be irresponsible of us as a council to not explore the opportunity to host a centre of excellence for greyhounds. I know during the time when the greyhound racing was banned, there was a lot of people that I knew that this was impacting. Personally, it was their only source of income. And the commitment and dedication that they've shown to continue to be able to, achieve the great things like Shaky Jakey, for example. I mean, they're things that shouldn't be forgotten, and we should be embracing those. And, take Councillor Mallard's point very seriously about the injuries and so forth. But there's also a potential that a domestic dog can walk out on the road and get hit by a car. So I don't think we're ever going to stop injuries to animals or people as much as we would like to do that in society. So thank you once again for putting the motion forward, Councillor Whitten. And, I'd be proud to associate our council in delivering a great centre of excellence that's going to put us on the map, and it's going to be something we're going to be recognised with worldwide.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is an incredibly tricky one. I acknowledge that the industry locally is substantial, and the time that you guys have all taken to come out here and show your support is really admirable, and I thank you for that. And I also understand that the industry's undergone a lot of hardships recently, last few years, and that there have been steps taken to improve the welfare of the animals, and that's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I can also acknowledge the fact that the economic benefits are, as you said, they speak for themselves. However, there is, I'm of the view that animal racing in general is fraught with issues, and whilst I have no doubt that locally animals, you love your animals, you look after them well. I totally get that. There is still a welfare issue, and I suppose it's a bit in line with the movement of Nup to the Cup for horse welfare. But my other concern too is that Bathurst has had quite a shock with their flooding and the damage to their track, and I sort of feel like this is, of a better term, profiting off their misfortune. So I'll actually be voting against the motion, but I do want to thank you all very much for coming and for your passion, and I really do understand where you're coming from.
Peterson.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support the motion, but I would like to make an amendment. The amendment being that the former trotting track be excluded as a potential venue for the Greyhound Centre of Excellence. This is because of the ongoing process that's been run over many years by the Orange Motorcycle Club for their moto park at the site. A proposal that many community hours have gone into it already. It's a proposal that was significant.
Do I have a seconder? Have I got a seconder? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. So it's a proposal that many community hours got into, and there's also been significant support from councillors in this chamber for the moto park during the recent election campaign. This amendment would allow us to back up those words with some actions without impeding on a Greyhound Centre of Excellence and the benefits we bring to Orange.
Thank you. I want to speak against the amendment because I think this motion is about conversations still happening. There hasn't been a choice of a particular site. So I wouldn't want to put my name to an amendment to exclude a certain site yet that the conversations are still happening about. So I'll be voting against the amendment. Any other speakers? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you very much. I wasn't going to say much tonight, but just this week...
Are you speaking for the amendment, against the amendment?
I'm speaking for the motion at this time, but I'll also speak against the amendment in a minute, but I don't disagree with him, Councillor Peterson. You know, growing up here in Orange, I played a lot of cricket down at Wade Park when the Greyhounds were down there. Reggie Hurst was running around like a blue-tailed fly and accusing us of doing everything we could to him. And myself, this week we lost a good friend in Jeff Culverson, who came out from Clergate area, where a few of the good greyhound trainers are. And we used to threaten to get hold of some cats and throw them over the window, over the fence, and make them a little bit happy. But I just can't get over the political stench that's around this here. It's a political stench what's here. People from the Greens supporters on their policies, they're talking about banning greyhounds, the Greens. They're absolutely talking about banning greyhounds. And worse than that, they're going to then attack the racing fraternity, thoroughbred racing, harness racing, and then next, the rodeos. Where in the hell are we going to have some fun? You know, we're going to go sit around and blow kisses at each other. Mate, it's fairly ordinary. The economics is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. And when I was at these friends' funeral the other day, I'm bombarded by people saying, what in the hell is your council doing? What in the hell are you doing? Anyone who votes against this should just immediately resign off council. That was the message I got, loud and clear. Because we're here for economic development for Orange. I couldn't give two hoots about Bathurst. I can tell you, Paul Till's done one for Bathurst, and I praise him every chance that I get. People follow him around with wheelbarrows and he burps out money every time he goes around a corner. But I'm here to represent Orange, and I want Orange to have this facility here. And I do think that Orange is the place to have it. And I want the staff to hurry up and do something within a month, or quicker if we can, to make this happen. And also, while I'm up, I'm going to speak against the amendment. I support the amendment, but I think it's a matter of rising or for another meeting. It is also economically benefit for Orange, and we should be supporting it 100%. At the same time, if there's negotiation with happening with staff and finding a venue, let that happen within a month as well. I think that's what the Mayor was getting at here. I find it strange that, as I said, there was a political stench to the thing. You know, I must congratulate Bill Donato. I mean, he rode in the back of the Greyhounds, and I patches on the back for it. He speaks a hell of a lot better now than what he did when he first came here. He goes pretty well. But it's, I mean, we had a councillor who's the head of our Economic Development Committee saying, hang on, we better wait and see what happens in Bathurst. Mate, our Economic Development Committee is here in Orange. It's here for Orange. And we're talking massive amount of money. We should not reject it. No way in the world reject it. I want to thank my colleague over there, Councillor Whitten, for bringing this forward. We've had many discussions about what it is. And you want to go back in history? All my family played cricket at Wade Park before 1900 even. And they can remember when the Greyhounds brought in the panels and set them up and took them down after their meetings. So the Greyhounds do have a place in Orange. And I do understand that the major players in the Greyhounds in the Central West are around Orange. They come from Eucarina, they come from Cowra, they come from Forbes, they come from Parks, they come from Spring Hill, they come from Clergate. It is Orange. It is Orange and it is ours, and we want it, and we want the economic development. And people that come to this town spend money. You speak to the coffee club up there in Summer Street, the coffee club, the owner there. If there's a function on in town or a sporting complex on town, it's worth an extra $5,000 to him for the weekend. That goes right across the industry of business houses in the town. That is far more important. I want to thank Mr. Hilsinger for his comment that they are reducing the injuries by 40%. That is very important, because I can tell you, when I was Mayor of Cabonne, the people of Manildra, and there's a couple of them here somewhere, people of Manildra were saying, oh, the stink of the place out there. You know, they've done just good work down. And we said, hang on, we can work through this, and we get through it. And they've worked through it and done it. And the Greyhound Association are working very well, and they're doing it, and they're bringing it down. But for God's sake, I'm telling you, don't let the Greens at any political level
Thanks, Mr Duffy.
take over.
Councillor Duffy. Any other? Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Kinghorn.
I'm a little confused, but so can I speak about the motion and the amendment at the same time?
Yep, sure.
Okay, all right. So I'm actually going to speak against the amendment, even though, Chip, I do understand what it's like to go through a lengthy process with Orange City Council when you're trying to organise something. I do agree with Councillor Hamling that it's a separate issue and that can be looked at later. I knew nothing about greyhounds 4 weeks ago, and we had a motion here that through a bit of misunderstanding of the Code of Meeting Practice meant that Councillor Evans' foreshadowed amendment wasn't able to be completed. And I find myself interestingly agreeing with Councillor Duffy in that that was a bit politicised, which I actually didn't like, because most of that happened because we didn't have the information. As I said, I knew nothing about greyhounds. Since then, I've learned a lot about greyhounds. Thank you to Joanne Kerr for telling me what goes on with within the industry, and thank you to everybody for coming. It is really nice to see that people are so supportive of their world, and that's encouraging. So I'm actually going to support the motion. I have no philosophical objections to greyhound racing any more than any other kind of racing. I probably won't start participating in it, but I understand that it is a big thing, and the bottom line for me is that it's going to be a good thing for Orange. So, thank you.
Just want to talk for the motion. I'll be supporting it. I think we can see what the figures are. That's definitely, and it's all been said. It's all been said tonight. We're here to work for Orange, so we should be working for Orange as councillors, and promoting Orange. Another big one, promoting Orange, and you can see how many greyhound, as Jeff said, the family, they've all come out tonight. The families come out tonight to support what we should be doing. So I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you, Councillor.
I'll close the debate, and I'd like to thank all the councillors for their debate, and certainly I've already thanked everyone for coming tonight. And I just want to make a few comments about welfare of greyhounds. You ask any person who owns a greyhound, the last thing they want to see is that greyhound harm itself. They are like their children. It's like, do you stop playing junior rugby league because your son breaks his leg, right? Don't stop things, you improve things and make them better. And if you were to look at the numbers for the amount of domestic animals that go through the RSPCA because people don't want to look after them anymore, those numbers would make you mind blow, right? Because they're domestic animals that people no longer want. No one says anything about that. No one says anything about that. It's only let's focus on industries that we don't agree with. But that's all I'll say on that matter, because I've grown up hearing all those comments all my life, and unless you walk in the shoes of someone who knows anything about any industry, how can you make a comment on it if you're not in their shoes, right? That's my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillors, and I thank you for your support tonight.
First, all in favour of the amendment, put your hand up. It's 3. Against? Amendment's lost. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? The motion's carried. Thank you. Have a recess for 5 minutes so people, if they want to go, can go, because we're going to continue our council meeting now.
Where did Councillor Mileto go?
Mileto.
Yeah.
Am I going to run over anyone? Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. I appreciate
Do it, and then the next step is proposal. And I'd like to see the Moto guys as well, whether even you two groups can get together and work something out. 22 acres. Yeah, so it's there. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for
Oh, yeah,
Is it?
Sorry. It was a big shock, I tell you, Jim. Yeah, I can see it was a big surprise. Yeah, so I'm honoured, I tell you.
Totally right. It's a bad thing to start.
Speaking the truth too, actually, you know.
Where are we up to? Minutes. Okay, item 3.1, minutes of the ordinary meeting. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Second by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Let me get numbers. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Chance of letting everyone get back in before you start.
We've got 8. Good on you. Outside anymore. Speakers. Are they? Don't worry about it. You got a quorum. Radio. That was voted for. 3 point. Yes. So PDC now.
Okay, I'll adjourn the council meeting at 7:38 for the Planning and Development Committee. Councillor Whitten. Thank you.
Okay, all good. Evening.
Evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to open the Planning and Development Committee meeting on the 7th of March 2023, with the time being around, we'll say 20 minutes to 8. I'd like to begin by welcoming the Mayor back after his break, and to your family, my family, from my family, Mr. Mayor, all the best to your dad, mate. So I'll move on to item 1. Does any councillor have any pecuniary interest? I'm aware that Councillor Kinghorn does, and I believe Councillor Mileto does as well. And Councillor Greenhouse has declared an interest on items as well.
Councillor Whitten.
Oh, Councillor Mallard, you have...
I've realised should declare a less than significant non-pecuniary interest in item 2.2.
2.2.
Given that the applicant, Orange X Services Club Limited, I'm an ordinary member of the club. Yep.
Oh, I think we're all members. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's a member?
Yeah. It's like being a ratepayer, mate.
Mr. Wynne, can you just hold on? Someone's just closed the doors. We can't quite have that.
Okay.
Thanks. Sorry, it's a open meeting, so we need doors open. Thank you, though. It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. Just one door.
No, we're all good. So, Councillor Mallard, you'll be staying in the room?
Yes.
Thank you. So, item 2.1, items approved under delegated authority of council. There is a recommendation on page 5. It's been moved by Councillor Hamling, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion on this item? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried unanimously. Move on to item 2.2, development application DA 293. Sorry, Councillor Greenhalgh is leaving the chamber and Councillor Kinghorn is losing the chamber. Just one moment while they leave the room.
I have a question for the director.
Yeah, just one moment, Councillor. We have a mover first. Okay, this is the Ex-Services Country Club, Lot 205, Forest Road. There is a recommendation on page 11. Do I have a mover? It's moved by Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Powell. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have
Councillor
a
Duffy.
question for the director as regards to the noise complaint. Now, can this be approved subject to a memorandum of understanding or a agreement done with by both parties? Because I know, look, I totally understand where the people that play bowls come from. They're very good citizens. They usually working with everyone. They don't want to harm anyone. They're usually very supportive of anything in the community. But I want to approve it. But I don't want to approve it if we haven't got an agreement or a mutual agreement between two parties. And if that can happen, but if it can't happen, I would be moving an amendment to defer.
Mr. Director, Mr. Hodges, would you be able to answer Councillor Duffy's
Thank you, Mr.
question,
Chair.
please?
Actually, I guess the question is, what are the controls that are existing on that site and recommended in the approval? Firstly, before we get into the actual other controls you could put in. Firstly, there's the liquor licence as well that relates to the site, so that club can't impact on its neighbours from noise or other activities. So they would have gaming and racing, so the government to answer to in relation to that, as in the club's operations, as has been pointed out tonight. In terms of the consent, we look at, we have our normal noise legislation which we can administer. Looking at what has been proposed, we do not consider that there would be an adverse impact. Having said that, the opportunity for two neighbours to work together, come up with a master plan which has been, or a management plan rather, which has been discussed a bit by the speakers tonight, which could be done out either inside the DA of an additional condition that related to a management plan prior to the issue of a construction certificate, so you'd still give consent and move on, or it could be required outside, like the parties just be asked to negotiate with each other like neighbours should do. So there's two options.
A question from the chair to you, Mr. Director. If the two parties come to an agreement which is outside our jurisdiction, do we need to get involved in it?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Oh, on that, I've met with both sides, both parties on this one, and a lot of the concerns relate to what might happen about its operations. What might happen if somebody was stayed on drinking on the green after 9 o'clock when the lights go out, that type of thing. Legitimate concerns. It's a beautiful spot out there, and we're aware of that. But there's no reason why, similarly to what we do with the liquor accord have certain restrictions that they apply to themselves. So you could actually do a similar approach where neighbours just go agree to work together. Their measures and the details around how they'll manage the site, how they'll manage their patrons, what they'll move on, how the lights come on and off. That would be the best way to manage it, because a lot of the time it's not going to be of a high enough level to trigger our enforcement procedures.
Thank you.
The noise levels mightn't be high enough, but it might be enough to annoy people.
Councillor
My other
Milletto,
question-
Councillor Duffy, Councillor Milletto was next, sorry.
I think with regards to the noise issues, my understanding at the moment, though, there is a number of sporting teams who already train out there, that being soccer, rugby league and the like. I would imagine that the noise which would be emanating for those players training would be much greater than what I would expect to get from bowlers, who are, in my opinion, quite controlled. They train in close proximity. So what I would suggest would happen here is when the sporting precinct starts to evolve in the next 18 months, some of those football teams may choose to go further north to the sporting precinct, which would then balance any noise which may occur around those bowling greens, which I understand, listening to Mr. Carpenter, is approximately 100 metres away. I might be incorrect there, but that was the distance which was quoted. So having some experience watching bowlers over the years, don't appear to me to be a rowdy crowd. And whilst there are some concerns, I think those concerns can be managed with appropriate action by the ex-Services Club, who obviously have been doing that for a number of years now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milletto. Any further speakers? Mayor.
Just noticed your light didn't come on, so I'll just repeat the question. So it'd be, how would we apply a condition if we're going to do it about in relation to a master plan? It wouldn't necessarily require the club to deal, like you wouldn't be able to put a condition on, I wouldn't think, that would say you must talk to your neighbour. So there's the two options how you'd bring in a master plan. You just ask the club to do it, which I've been in discussions the last few days on with the club, and they've certainly accepted that they'd like to do that. Or you could put a condition of consent that did say the can develop a master plan on the operations of the these relate to the bowling greens, so it's nothing to do with the club, but in relation just to the operation of the bowling greens and the lights. But I'm suggesting if you did it locally between the neighbours, they could actually expand out not just the bowling greens, but include everything else.
Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, no, I'm supportive of the motion in principle, and certainly being a long-term employee of Orange Hospital and a patient for 269 days, aware that there is noise in that can be managed. I went out there this morning, and in the morning was able to speak with the Services Club, who told me they'd been trying to contact Council Care West, but were unable to do so. In the afternoon, I saw Council Care West, who told me they'd been trying to contact the Services Club, but had been unable to do so. Good news, you guys are sitting next to each other now, so I'm sure that we'll be able to have a plan, and very happy to approve it with the reasonable people you are to make a plan.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just first a question through you to the Director, and then I'll just speak to the motion. Just in terms of, I'm not sure whether this is something you could even answer now, considering it's probably a heritage. But in terms of planting along the fence line of the bowling green there, firstly, is that something that would be allowed given the constraints on the site? Secondly, is that something that's possible to help reduce any, like as a bit of a buffer for noise?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we discussed, staff and myself discussed this fairly extensively with some of the committee today, including Mr. Carpenter and Mr. Holman. And firstly, it's a state heritage item, so as we found with the Sports Centre, it's very difficult to do things out there. Second part is it's such a beautiful area to look through, and it's a key part of the enjoyment of the residents in the lodge. So I want to discuss it as an option to say, could we do it? Because it's certainly a solid fence along there would take out any potential noise, but it might.
rather than changing the fence
Plants,
itself?
yeah,
like
it has to be a solid screen to actually take any noise out. So visually, it might improve how you feel, but it doesn't actually change the noise, and it would stop at the moment they have nice, quite long distance views. So we discussed that on site, and it's kind of needed a bit more research by the lodge before you'd sort of want to leap into that type of thing. There might be opportunities to do some smaller things like around there, but it's more, and that's a benefit if they work together. It was outside the consent, come up with some better solutions to suit both sides.
Thank you.
I was just going to speak to the motion if that's possible.
Go ahead.
Look, after meeting on site today, talking to the director and just now, I'm happy to support the recommendation. I think that it's very important that the two parties do have that discussion and work out how to work together moving forwards, because you both benefit from each other. Absolutely. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move an amendment, unless the mover and the seconder would accept the amendment. I want the amendment to include what the director said as regards to the noise component, coming up with agreement on the noise component. I know very well that both of the organisations are very supportive of each other, actually, and I think that's a good understanding. But it's good to have it in black and white. So wrong.
Look, I'm happy to accept your amendment if you get a seconder. But technically, the director has said that there are two legislative laws there to manage the noise.
Put that in there. If the mover and seconder happy to do it.
Doesn't appear so.
Mover.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. I think I was the mover, so I'm happy to.
You happen to add that as a condition?
Yes. Yep.
Seconder.
I was a seconder.
Who seconded it?
Gerald.
Oh, Councillor Powell, sorry. You happy to add that as a condition? Yeah.
I'd like to listen.
Yep, okay. Happy with that, Mr. Director? You're happy, but I mean, I just wanted to know that there's going to be a condition of consent.
He hasn't accepted the change yet, Councillor Duffy. You still may need a seconder for your amendment. Councillor Powell, are you happy
Can we get clarity on exactly what the amendment is?
It's not an amendment, it's a conditional add to the motion.
But I don't. Sorry, it's not a condition of consent. It's a condition of a chat.
Yeah,
I take it.
That's what.
It's not as part as a consent. There's two. You said there was two different ones. There's the consent one, or there's a chat.
Mr. Chair, I was suggesting, Council, if you. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, I was suggesting that there were still two options. That will give you an outcome of a management plan owned by the club, run by the club, implemented by the club, that it could be either done by a condition of consent, but keeping in mind this development only relates to the use of the greens, or if you step back a bit, not make it too regulated, well, the club will work with their neighbour to come up with plans where they do discuss how they operate. So, because what I saw today was more of a concern about how things might operate. So if they get together and agree how they might operate, and it doesn't need to be done under development consent, they could, we've done it with other developments, only had to go through consent conditions, but you could control the whole development. Here,
That's the one that Councillor Duffy's talking about, your second option.
With the condition, it sounds like the suggestion over here is a management plan condition, which we can do, but keep in mind it'll relate to just the use of the greens.
Yeah, and the director is saying that if we go with that first option, it's only relating to the condition of the greens. If the two parties come together, they're going to come together and do a management plan around the whole lot about when people are drink over time and all those sorts of things, right? I'm in your hands, Councillor Duffy. What are you doing? Doesn't look like we're doing anything. So we just have one motion. The motion is as it was printed. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mallard. I'm looking at the director. I'm watching him. My apologies.
Yeah, sorry. If we're debating the motion, then I think it sounds like this opportunity for a voluntary discussion around a plan of management for the site is positive and happy to see that. I'm in light of that and the staff report and the information we've got about the conditions that have been placed on it, I'm happy to support the recommendation. I did want to comment probably one other area, like apart from obviously the impact on Western Care Lodge and the lighting and noise has been the focus of concerns, but I did want to just make a brief comment on the installation of a synthetic surface for the bowling green, which I think is beyond our planning controls to govern. But yeah, I would have preferred to see, I think, a natural surface in there. I think it would have dealt with some of the issues potentially about light reflection. I do note that the club has indicated, part of the intention is to save money on ground staff and upkeep costs, but acknowledge the water savings as an environmental positive. But then if you're talking about sustainability, the embodied emissions in a synthetic surface are problematic. And I also do wonder if they've considered, particularly given that the condition is they need to install a dark synthetic surface to prevent reflection of light at night, that's going to absorb a hell of a lot of heat in the daytime. On a hot day, it's going to become a heat sink. So
they probably sell more beer.
Well,
I mean,
that
soft
might
drink.
be the cunning plan, yes. But
Water.
in terms of the heat island effect, it doesn't seem great to me.
All righty.
Yeah, I'm happy
so
to
thank you,
support the
Councillor
motion.
Mallard. If there's no further speakers, just to clarify, it is the motion as printed for approval. There is no conditional changes. The party will happily do that themselves. No further speakers. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? The motion is unanimous. So we move on to 2.3, and I think we bring some councillors back in.
Yep, thank you. Right, okay.
That one.
But it was non-significant,
Yeah,
non-pecuniary. Yeah.
I thought it was this next one or the one after. We all back? Oh, lost one. Oh, she's
Still
staying
up.
Okay.
2.3.
Alrighty, so we move on to item 2.3, which is Orange Local Environmental Plan Amendment 3.3, Rosedale Gardens. It's been moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Hamling. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Mallard?
If I could just ask a question, just to, I mean, my reading and understanding of this is that it's effectively creating the flexibility for the residential zoning while also making sure there's in fact stronger protections for the critically endangered ecological communities. Am I right in my understanding? Did you want to comment on that a bit, Mr. Hodges?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it's pretty close. It has approval already at the moment, and it's increasing the density from up to 700 lots as a maximum. The resolution would give, or the motion as printed would give rezoning for that to allow the increased density, and requires the extra consultation that Biodiversity BSC, the government agency, I just can't recall their name, sorry, which they require the extra consultation on the vegetation and critters. Yep.
Councillor Pearson.
I'm happy to support the motion. Just wanted to assume the specific details like insistence on paths and the like, that's all dealt with at a much later stage.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it's a good point, because the way the motion will be read is the first point, which is the acceptance and the adoption of the rezoning. I think that goes off, and then there's a lot of documentation that'll follow, so the development control plan, contribution plans, that type of thing, which is the remainder part of that resolution or the recommendation there. In terms of the detailed layout, that does come through later at the construction or the subdivision stage. So once they start to move into the development stage, that's when we'll see designs come in for roads, street tree locations, footpaths, cycleways, pension ponds, wetlands, that type of thing.
Thank you, Mr Hodges. Any further speakers? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'm going to support the recommendation. I think it's a great recommendation. The only thing I have concerns about is when it comes back in a more detailed stage that we want to ensure that our roads are wide enough and the infrastructure for service vehicles and whatever to go along them, unlike some of the streets we put through lately, a few years back.
No other further speakers? Alrighty, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? The motion is unanimous. Carried. Do we need to bring in Councillor? No, she's out for this one as well. Okay. Item 2.4, Orange Local Environmental Plan, Planning Proposal 274 Leeds Parade.
Happy to move it.
Been moved by Councillor Hamling, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion on this item?
This goes out on exhibition, I take it, and it comes back, so I think it does not hurt.
Councillor Peterson?
Yeah, no, I'm supportive of the recommendation, and let's use the land if idle. The proximity to CSU and the employers around is valuable. I just make an advanced proposal that part of this be made available for affordable housing. I've requested a briefing from Housing Plus about potential mechanisms we could use to facilitate such intentions, and forward to discussing more when that happens.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Yeah, I think it's happy to support the recommendation. I think point 4 about the draft development control plan that we're only noting that now. There needs to be significant consultation to make sure we get those sorts of details right, as Director Hodges talked about, the things like footpaths, making sure we've got the protections for native vegetation left on the side and those sorts of things in there. So I think that's all good, and appreciate Councillor Peterson's suggestion as well, although I think at this point we're limited in what powers we've got over private developers. But if we do have our housing summit and also our briefing with Housing Plus, if we talk about affordable housing contribution schemes and mandatory zoning, inclusionary zoning, then we might be able to get something in.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Any further speakers? I think the CEO would like to make a comment.
Just a matter arising. The Housing Plus briefing is scheduled for the 24th of March.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr CEO. No further speakers. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Unanimous. That brings the Planning and Development Committee meeting to a close at 2 minutes past 8, and I'll invite Councillor Hamling back to the chair to run the Infrastructure Committee.
Thanks. What do we need?
Oh, she's coming back. Who's on?
Thanks, Councillor Whitten. I'll open the Infrastructure Policy Committee at 8:02. Any declarations of interest? Being none. Item 2.1, minutes of the City of Orange Traffic Committee held on the 14th of February.
Move it.
Moved by Councillor Miletto. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 3.1, current works on page 73. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Floyd. Seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? Councillor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On page 80, it's noted that Council received a verbal confirmation of a grant for lighting. I just want to know if there are concern about a verbal confirmation being honoured with the government in caretaker mode and potentially changing.
Thank you, Councillor. We have also got, while we haven't got a funding deed in place, it is part of the existing budget, so it's not a future budget in, say, 23-24. It's part of the 22-23 budget allocation that Transport for New South Wales are managing. We've got undertakings from Transport for New South Wales. There's no concern that that will be, that won't be honoured. Thank you.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Just a question relating to down page 81, some of the information about the Lord's Place South works, and particularly the installation of things. So this may not be one for you, Mr Greenham.
Okay.
I'm not sure. we're going to talk about the dining decks a little bit later, but it also notes that there'll be the installation of 6 chill-out trees, seating and large pots along with full stop. So I was wondering if we might get a bit of information about what the chill-out trees and the seating and what else is going in along with that in terms of public amenities apart from the dining decks that are going to be business-oriented.
Yeah, certainly. I can certainly circulate some information around what the chill out tree is. It's not actually a tree. It's a metal structure with it's essentially a pole and a circular shade structure. And the manufacturers of those refer to them as chill out trees, but they are not trees as such. And we've also had previous briefings around the furniture type that we're looking at installing. So I'll recirculate that information to councillors so they're aware of it.
And any idea what the along with was? The sentence ends along with, and then it's a full stop.
Can you refer to the page again?
Page 81.
Installation, large
Second
pots
paragraph,
along with, full stop.
I imagine it's going to be along with plantings. Yeah, so they won't be empty pots. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Mr. Chair, just a very quick question, purely out of with the signage, the interpretive signage on page 74, angled that way, rather than being purely upright.
Mr. Chair, I think that's for reader ease.
Yes.
A lot of writing, and it's just easier if it's on an angle to look down.
I just would have thought it would
also consistent.
increase the sun exposure, which means fade quicker. And
they are maintained from time to time. You'll see all our heritage plaques around, information plaques around the city are angled in that way. So we have numerous ones around the city.
Councillor Whitten.
I was remiss in the minutes of the Traffic Committee, Mr. Mayor. We were talking about the Runners Club. I live along Bargwana Road. I just wanted to make... But what I was going to add is that maybe we can get the runners to wear backpacks with blackberry spray in it. Spray along the edge of the council road there where all the blackberries are.
Thanks, Councillor Whitten. You got it. Any other comments on works? Councillor Duffy.
It's a matter of rising with the things there. I do notice that there's been a number of trucks roll over on our roundabouts on the NDR. And I'm just wondering whether there's adequate signage there. I mean, just a truck with a beam on it. Yeah, I have seen when I've travelled around the countryside, you see adverse canvas signs, which is more or less what the truckies really understand a little bit better than just a leaning truck, a leading van. Is that something that can be looked at?
I'll be happy to bring it up with the new owner.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's right. We don't own it.
First.
There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Infrastructure Committee meeting at 8:10, and I'll call on Councillor Duffy to do the finance.
Oh, shit.
Thank you, councillors. I declare the Finance Policy Committee open at 8:08. The first thing on the agenda. Any declarations of pecuniary interest, significant and non-pecuniary interest?
Yeah, I would like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 2.2 as I am a member of Orange City Rugby Club.
We have that.
Leaving the room?
Not a playing member. That.
Lucky for
Mayor, Mr. Chairman, sorry. Geez, that was a Freudian slip.
We move.
Thank you, mascot.
2.1. I have a non-pecuniary interest, but I'll take guidance from the GM. Sorry, from the CEO on item 1 on point 1, where it says sponsor Housing Plus.
Housing Plus is a tenant of one of the buildings that Octec owns. I'm happy to leave. I think I will leave.
I think you should. Yes, I think you
but
should.
it's only on item. Oh, there's point 1, 2A, 2B, right?
Well, unless you do them in seriatim, I think you should leave for the
Deal
lot.
with them in seriatim.
Would someone like to move that we leave item 1, 2.1, and the one that Councillor Hampton's talking about, if they're the only two, we leave them to the end?
I'll also declare the same as what Councillor
Yeah, that's
says,
all right.
my
Yep.
board member.
Yeah, do you have that?
Yeah, so I think if you do 2.1 in seriatim, we can probably manage it easily.
I'll move that.
Okay.
We've got a mover for that.
Happy to
and a
second.
seconder for that. All in favour? Yep.
Seconded, Councillor Mallard. All those in favour, say aye. Against, carried.
So
Now move on to 2.1.
anyone declaring on Housing Plus
Yes.
should leave the room.
CEO, thank you.
We'll call you back.
If you're lucky.
Recommendation there, councillors. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
I'm happy to move that we
McDonald, Councillor Mallard.
move that we approve that.
Any, you happy to move 2.2B as well?
Oh no, we're doing
We're doing number
seriatim.
one.
Yeah.
Saying because
the first
the
one,
motion
yep.
is decides the following
Any
applications.
discussion?
So I'm just saying that I'm moving that we.
Discussion.
I suppose I just had a quick question through the director. Sorry to make you do the walk. I'm assuming that the last few years it's increased 5,000, 5,500, now 6,000. I'm assuming that's just a general increase in costs of everything that they're taking into it.
Yeah, I believe so. So when we ask them about how we're able to use our sponsorship, it's basically around sort of that prize giving. So they bundle up sort of prizes or packages that people can bid on, and that's how they're raising the money. So the money that we give them actually goes towards Shop Orange cards, and so it's 6,000 Shop Orange cards in that.
Any further questions of the director? Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. We move on to item. We'll call back Councillor Whitten and Councillor Hamming to the room.
Orange show and then orange show. Yep. Answer it.
Councillors, the recommendation of 2.1 was approved unanimously. Now we move on to 2.1, 2A and 2B. We're going to do them separately. Move 2A, moved by Councillor Hemming.
Separately, are we?
Yep.
Yep.
Do we have a second up? Seconded Councillor Peterson. Any discussion?
On 2A.
2A.
Just like to make a general comment, and my general comment is, I think somewhere in the next couple of years we have to address the situation of the showground. No matter where I went down to Singleton on the weekend, and theirs is absolutely magic compared to ours. And you see that anywhere we go. I think it's something we should take on board for the future directions of Orange. Right, we're going to put that recommendation if there's no discussion.
Before you do, can I just ask? I was looking the other day, and I'm on the showground committee, and to my knowledge, there's never been a meeting. So have I just not been invited to them, or?
Mr. Maunder, that question. Maunder, do we have a show? We don't have a committee for. We don't have a committee.
Because I thought I was on that too.
Well, it's there in the.
You're marked again, not. It marks against you.
We don't have one. Okay.
We were. It was chosen that we were. I had a look the other day. I saw you were on it as well. Yeah. So why were we put onto one that doesn't exist, and why doesn't it exist?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, it does exist, but I don't think it is a council committee. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. I don't know how that happened, but you haven't.
So it's like a
missed
representative on the
meetings.
Chamber of Commerce or
I think
360
they're
and all that.
separate.
Trouble getting them to tell me when their meetings are on as well. So anyway, okay.
Any further discussion?
What's the outcome of that? Sorry.
So just to clarify, if you're about to vote to give them $10,000 for this year's event, after that you'll vote to give them for the next 2 years. But you're doing this one in seriatim, so you're about to vote, Mr. Chair, for year to give them $10,000. So we're putting
Everyone
that-
aware for that? No further discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your arm. Unanimous. Item 2B, which is the further donation of $10,000 per year, 2024-25. Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. You're talking so much, I don't know what's going on. Mate, the discussion. Councillor Peterson, then Councillor.
Ask a question through you, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Depends on what it is.
Well, is it either A or B? We don't need to vote for both. I think we have to pick one or the other.
I mentioned 24-25.
You're the chair. I'll just.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Mr. Chair, whilst I voted in favour of 2A, I will vote against 2B, just because I'm wary of committing 1/3 of the entire flagship budget for a 3-year period and to just do such a substantial sum of money 1 year at a time.
Okay, thank you. I've got a similar question, I suppose. That was my assumption, that it's just assumed that it will be. But then on page 6, it does say that the flagship event fund has an annual funding pool of $30,000. So is this still part of that same 100,000, or is that 30,000 part of the 100,000, or is it a separate thing?
It's part of the category, which is the 30,000, but the overall funding program for our events is 100,000.
The 30,000 is part of the 100,000.
Yes, so it would be 1/3 of that category's budget.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll speak in favour of the motion. I think the show has been the numbers have been down. Obviously, we had COVID and all that. I think to see this traditional event happen in Orange, and I think as a council we should be backing it and giving them some surety over the next few years. So I'll be in full support of helping out the show society over the next couple of years.
Councillor Miletto.
Thank you. I'm in two minds of item 2B. I'm just wondering, if something was to go wrong in 2024, what happens to the 10,000 which was allocated?
Director.
Through Mr. Chair, we do have acquittal processes and the way we manage our grant program. So, for example, if the show wasn't able to go ahead as part of that acquittal process and reporting on the grant funding received, we would be able to go back to the Show Society and we wouldn't pay them, or we could, if we had paid part of that money.
Can I ask then, what is the benefit in committing to the next 3 years when you could just do it annually?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think from applicants, having a 3-year funding program gives them some certainty of funds and helps them with their planning, in particular with the Show Society. Their key objective of council funding is to increase entertainment year on. So they've spent an increase of 50% on entertainment over the last 2 consecutive years, or budget for that. So the 3-year program of funding will enable them to make plans to be able to increase that budget and to secure entertainment and build on that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Greenhalgh.
Can I just have a point of clarification to the director? So we're not actually giving them the whole 30,000 this year, are we? We're giving the 10,000 each year.
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, perfect.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, I'll be supporting the motion, but I do agree, and it's not the fault of this council in no way, shape, or form. But for years, council, the Orange Show has been wanting, and we've always talked about helping them and fixing it and making it a better place for people to go to. And we have done bits and pieces like that fabulous facility that was built, the large shed. But it does need some love and care, and I think we need to probably set aside a strategy meeting just specifically around the showground. Yeah, get the showground committee. Like, you would think the showground committee members would bring some feedback to us, but they're not.
Especially if we're giving them $10,000 a year. It would be nice to know what happens.
Serious note, I think we really need to put put some focus on the show ground. It is something that's owned by the community of Orange, and it needs to be a place where they can go to and enjoy, like we used to when you were young, Mr. Mayor. So I think we should do that some other time.
Can I just make a comment on that as well? Attending the Showgirl finals that we held here, there is a lot of young, incredible people, and we're fortunate enough that our young Miss Showgirl is actually on the Show Society Committee. So I think they do have a lot of new young blood, and they're looking to for better outcomes. So I think I totally agree. I think we spoke about early in our term, when we were allocating the money for the horse stables and so forth, that they were hiring those. So I couldn't agree more that we do need to look at investing in some more infrastructure and improvements there.
Thank you, Councillor Greenhill.
One more comment, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a point. Riding track, there's a set of really cool stables.
Okay, Councillor, I'm just going to let you know that I'm supporting the recommendation, and I also want to take on what Councillor Greenhill said. There is a young new committee out there, and they have the element of change in their mind, and that's why I say it's probably something we should take up as a council with the show committee from there. But I'm going to put that recommendation. If there's no further discussion, all those in favour raise your hand. It is unanimous.
I was actually taking a vote against, sorry.
All but Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Peterson. Okay, we're now going to move on to 2.2, which is on page 17. And item number 1 is the donation to $2,500 to the Orange Lions Club. I'm happy to move that. Moved by Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Miletto. Any discussion? No discussion. I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. It is unanimous. The next one, Councillor Hamling, who the selectors have done the right thing by. Okay, we have a recommendation there of $450 of in-kind support. We have a mover. Moved Councillor Greenhill, seconded Councillor Kinghorn. Any discussion? Discussion. I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. And we'd like to call Councillor Hamling back in. Let's see.
Councillor McDonald would be services.
Councillor Hamling, just to let you know that recommendation for the Orange City Football Club or the Rugby Club, whatever they call themselves, has gone through unanimously. And I declare the Finance Committee meeting over at 8:22 and call on Councillor McDonald to do the Services Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'd like to open the Services Policy Committee meeting for the 7th of March 2023 with the time being 8:23 p.m. Do we have any declarations of interest from councillors? Excellent. Item 2.1 is the minutes of the NAIDOC Week Committee meeting of the 9th of February.
Happy to move the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Power. Is there any discussion on this item? Oh, easy done. All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise an arm. Excellent. That's unanimous. Well, that was brief and beautiful. Thank you, councillors. I'll hand over to...
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Okay, I'll go to item 4.1, notice of motion proposed to move Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the motion was the Planning and Development Policy Committee meeting be held with the council meeting on the third Tuesday of the month. We're going to distribute the length of papers for pre-reading. I just want to consider with my colleagues if a redistribution of paper length between the two monthly meetings would improve the quality.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Floyd. Sorry, Councillor Peterson.
My apologies. Got excited about such a keen issue, obviously. So the last year's record of council papers were 1,675 pages. When we discussed this last year, I felt there was some support amongst us for spreading things out a bit in the planning committee. This fortnight at 597 pages is an obvious candidate to move. I was hoping it would just be a simple process in so much as taking the paper as per tonight, but cutting the planning committee document and pasting it on the agenda 2 weeks later. I've spoken to the director during the week, who's assured me it's more complex than that, so I'm quite happy for the opinions of other councillors. That's something that's worth proceeding or too hard.
Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, the councillor, for the notice of motion. I can't support the motion. I think what needs to happen is that each DA should be treated on the same merit. I think that we should make an attempt to hear it on the evening, because there's a lot of money and all sorts of things going to the investment of a DA. I think if it's obvious that it's a huge DA, well, then consideration should be given to hold it on a special meeting. But in saying that, I think each DA needs to be treated on its merit, and if we can get them through on that night, I think we should attempt to do so. But I can't support it in its current format, unfortunately.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I agree with Councillor Miletto. I won't be supporting the motion because there are a lot of statutory obligations that we're under when it comes to planning. Once the staff, and the director will correct me if I'm wrong, once the staff give an approval, then the clock's on for us to, as a council, if it's coming to us to deal with it. I think it's like 40 days. We've got like a 40-day window, so if we start putting the time out for when we deal with it, and then we put amendments on it and we defer it and all sorts of stuff, technically the applicant can take us to the Land and Environment Court and it's automatically approved. I think it's a matter that we need to deal with DAs as fast as we can, given the practicalities. I do understand exactly where Councillor Peterson's coming from. There is a lot of reading and understanding in a DA application, and we do have to base it. Our decisions are based on the merit of the applications within planning law, not on what our emotions are. Fortunately, don't worry. I've always argued about emotions in DAs. Live here, and the people that are affected by them live here, but we have to sort of view them on a legal sense. So that's why I'll be voting against it.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And I appreciate the intention of where Councillor Peterson is coming from, once again, as with many of his notices of motion, and I can see the argument he's making about the workload for us. But yeah, I did want to ask through you, Mr Mayor, if the CEO or any of the directors can spell out a bit more. Page 19, I note the paragraph under financial and resourcing implications. If we can get a bit more detail about what are the impacts in terms of the workload and workflow for the staff, because we've obviously got to make sure that we're providing manageable workloads for staff.
Through you, Mr Chair, first of all, I just wanted to say that we're here to support the Chamber and the councillors. That's our primary objective of being employees of council. The way we've traditionally managed our council papers is big paper, small paper, and also to combine all the policy committees together in that first council and policy committee paper. So it is probably a work routine that we've put in place ourselves, but that work routine has enabled us to have heavy week and lighter week, and having the heavy week and lighter week has just freed up more resources and times to do other tasks, so that not every week we're spending a majority of our time, or a majority of one person's staff members' time, on council papers. So it's a rhythm and flow that we've established ourselves. As I said, we're here to support council and the chamber, and that's a practice we can change, but it would just mean that potentially our resources would be focused on business papers for, or fortnightly as a heavy paper and a light paper. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm going to speak against the motion, but sort of pose a bit of an alternative.
Are you putting an amendment?
No, I'm sort of throwing this out there probably as a question to the director. I mean, we already allocate Friday lunchtime as a briefing. I'm just wondering whether Friday before, so the last Friday of the month, so before the planning, allow part of that briefing time to be specific for planning matters if
so through
that would meet Councillor Peterson's.
So through you, Mr. Chair, and I might refer back to the CEO, but absolutely we do have those times to brief councillors on a number of matters, and if councillors chose that it was time that we spent on some larger DAs or some, to go through other DAs, then I will defer to my director. It could be done in a briefing session. Did you want
to? Mr. Mayor, certainly we can include a few minutes on the planning matters on the Friday. I don't see an issue with that, as well as I try and do that email to you to summarise.
I was going to say the email that you send out on Sundays, I stand by my computer waiting for that to come along. Detailed, and I think, and I really like the format that you put it in. It's not too over complicated. It's just simple. But if we can, maybe if we have to dive a bit more in on a briefing session, I suppose.
Apologies for the size of the paper. It's always difficult when you've got rezonings, because they are massive documents, to put everything in that justifies them. So these things happen, and they tend to be in waves with planning. When they are prepared, when reports are prepared outside PDC, we will give consideration to putting them to normal council meetings. Often they just don't quite line up with deadlines, so it's hard to manage. More about perhaps the briefing and education and assistance that I can give you once we get a big paper.
Councillor Duffy.
So, yeah, look, I'm going to speak against the motion, and I first of all fully understand new councillors having the daunting situation of facing the Planning Act. And I think there's a massive amount of sections within that Act plus regulations. And it's something you pick up from time to time of being a councillor, and you understand what are the main issues are, but that's what you gain from experience, and that's what you have to get up, and that's why we have senior staff here. And to give an example tonight, we had an example tonight of two speakers who spoke about lighting and out there. They spoke for quite a lengthy time. We gave them extensions, I think, as well. But there was only two issues, lighting and noise. And that's being able to decipher whatever. If you have issues of understanding what that is, that's when you go to the director and say, hey, what do you think, or whatever the case may be. But also look at these things. The main thing is you look at the objections and see what the people are complaining about. I can tell you there's something wrong when we find out that when the room's full of people, there's something wrong. There's a communication problem there or something's there. But also it's a good idea to read the summary. If you have any other issues, just contact the directors. I think experience is something you'd like to pick up overnight, but you can't do that. But I don't have a problem with councillors getting together and having a discussion with the director. But on planning matters, I do have a little bit of a problem because you're dealing with things that are a matter of law, and you don't want to be seen to having a preconceived idea when you walk into the chamber.
101 on planning. Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'm perfectly capable of reading a long paper and understanding it, and perfectly capable of asking a question if I need to. Said that, I'm not going to support this motion because getting something approved can take so long anyway, and I just don't want to inflict 2 more weeks on people unnecessarily. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Put the motion. All in favour? Oh, sorry.
You're
past that
motion. Sorry. Anyone?
I just said motion. Mr. Mayor.
You nearly got it.
The motion.
The motion is that the Planning and Development Policy Committee be held with the council meeting on the 3rd Tuesday of each month to better distribute length of papers for pre-reading. All those in favour? Against? Sorry, Councillor Peterson. Nearly got it. I nearly got it through for you.
Voted against it.
Move on to item 5.1, which is general reports, Lords Place South use of outdoor parklets.
Move the recommendation.
Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Power. Any discussion?
I just want to say I think it's great that we've got businesses interested in being part of the trial and that we're going ahead and giving them the opportunity.
Any other speak? Councillor Kinghorn.
Just a quick one. I also am going to support this. I think it's a good idea because it may provide some benefit to those businesses who have been struggling with the parking changes.
Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against?
Duffy. Against.
Councillor Duffy. I just want to make a couple of comments. On the weekend we had some pretty big events. The running festival, which I was at on Saturday and Sunday, absolutely amazing. Those fit people out there running around. It was we had a bit of rain on Saturday afternoon, which put things back, but everyone still turned up. And the bird show, unbelievable. Unbelievable the people we get to town for that bird show. And the volunteers that same for both events, the volunteers and the sponsors. Yeah, absolutely take my hat off to both organisations. So here. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Those who might be in the know, we, myself and Freddie Moore, a committee member of the Tidy Towns, travelled to Singleton on the weekend, and we were quite successful in picking up 5 awards. And I've had discussions with you, and because of the meeting tonight, it was such a compact one, we'll address the issue next weekend. But I also like to mention that one of our really good staff, Roger Smith, was commended for his efforts, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And I think the CEO should totally ensure that he is here at the next council meeting.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Also wanted to note Sunday had Clean Up Australia Day as well. And in fact, I saw Mr Smith down there and heard about the great Tidy Town results. He wasn't tooting his own horn, but was talking about how great it was for the council and the city that we got those results. And it was also great to see some volunteers out cleaning up around various parts of town. The Echo crew were in one place. The council were down at Elephant Park.
Thank you. We might go into closed meeting. Seconder. Thanks, Councillor.
We have to do the...
Sorry?
Greenhouse.
Sorry?
We have to read out the bits about any submissions and...
What, sorry?
Any submissions about...
NA of the Local Government Act.
Hey, go easy.
Where's your running sheet?
I've lost it.
Yeah, where's the running sheet? There we go. Where's my running?
Sorry. Here it is.
Okay,
I've got it.
He's got it.
You've chucked them out so they can't object now.
Oh, hang on. I was just about to read the emergency evacuation. The Chief Executive Officer will now advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised in consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City.
Been received, Your Honour.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind referred to Section 10A/2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of Council meeting closed to the press and public. 6.1. Submission redactions, 7th of March 2023, is classified confidential under provision of Section 10A2 of the Local Government Act 1993, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public for business relating to the following section. E. Information that would be, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. We've already moved and seconded. Are we in closed?
Waiting for